Hey everyone, welcome to a must-win game with Maggie Gray. We are doing stock up, stock down today with yours truly because I have a lot to get off my chest. And number one, stock down, LeBron James. LeBron, what is going on? We are so far from the days of the decision with every team courting LeBron James and begging them essentially to come and save their franchise. I understand it's not 2010. I understand LeBron is in his 23rd season in the NBA, but he's still playing at a very high level. The athleticism somehow is still there. The guy's going to be in his mid-40s, still tomahawk dunking, chasing down blocks. Now we get a whiteboard, and we don't even get LeBron with the whiteboard. We get his agent, Rich Paul, who's got his own podcast with Max Kellerman, and Rich Paul sitting there in the bucket hat with a pointer, like this is some kind of class, and pointing out all the different possible teams that LeBron is going to. This looks loserish to me. This is beneath LeBron James and the career that he has had, especially when we get a closer look at what's on the whiteboard. So LeBron's name is written in the middle, like he is the sun by which all the NBA is orbiting around. Well, I don't know if it's that way anymore. It used to be. Not anymore. And the major sort of branches coming off are the 76ers, the Heat, the Timberwolves, the Denver Nuggets, and Cleveland. Yet there's other kind of things on the whiteboard as well. Like it just says Steph and Dre, like Steph and Draymond Green. So like Warriors on the top. It just says Brad and Tatum, Brad Stevens, Jason Tatum. So like on the bottom left, just says like Spurs at one point underlined and Knicks underlined, okay, or NYK underlined. The most fascinating one is the Dallas Mavericks, who again are on the outer side of this, and it says Dallas plus Masai, and Masai is Masai Ujiri, who's the new GM of Dallas Mavericks. And underneath it, it just says oil, golf, Macau, Africa. That's embarrassing if you are trying to sell that this is indeed a basketball move. Oil, like Texas oil? What? Like you can't get in the oil business unless you live in Texas? Come on, that's so dumb. Golf, you can play golf anywhere. Macau, that is referring to the casino that the new owners of the Mavericks have. And one of the only places, I guess, that you can really do serious gambling in Asia, I think. And then Africa, because Masai Ujiri is from Africa and does a lot of like NBA building stuff and nonprofits and charitable things in Africa. Dude, this is embarrassing for you. First of all, LeBron has been in our lives for so long. I don't even know if basketball player is the top of the resume anymore. I think he's a content company because they're using his free agency for like content, like Rich Paul, his podcast. Unless there's something more calculated here, in which case you want to read between the tea leaves, which is that LeBron has to sell himself now. He needs the proxy of Rich Paul literally writing it out on a whiteboard for other general managers to see how LeBron would possibly fit. The planting the seed, like that these general managers are not already thinking about this, or that, and I hope to God there are more conversations happening behind the scenes. Now, Rich Paul says that 27 of the 30 teams have reached out in some way or some form or fashion. Okay, I guess we'll take your word for it, but I wouldn't. I mean, this screams to me somebody who's trying to sell their client somewhere, which is crazy considering not only is it LeBron, but they're also making it very clear that LeBron is not going to ask for anywhere close to the kind of salary that he's been enjoying over the last, 20 years. Like, we're not getting to 30, 40 million, nothing like that. Nothing like that. There's actually talk that he would take like the mid-level exception. Everyone's all over the road with what LeBron will play for. And to me, again, this screams of like a desperate act, which LeBron should not be desperate to find another team, even in his mid-40s. The last thing I want to say about this whiteboard is the New York Knicks. So Rich Paul kind of went on and said, if the Knicks hadn't just won the title, there'd be no whiteboard. LeBron would be on the Knicks. Then it's not about basketball. Because if you're so worried about the interpersonal part, right? If you're so worried that New York fans, they said, are going to blame you if the Knicks don't repeat, then it's not about basketball. Because if you really think that this is your perfect fit, then you don't care about Charles Barkley calling you a bus rider. Or you don't care, that you're going to have to smooth it over with some of the guys on the team. Yeah, you want to make sure Brunson's on board with it. But do you know Jalen Brunson? I can't even imagine that he would stop or be in the way or put up a roadblock if he actually thinks this is the best thing basketball-wise. See, that's the crazy part about these Knicks. They actually are all just about basketball. And LeBron's just like thinking about the interpersonal and how's it going to look and what are the fans going to say and probably the media. Like, what? You're LeBron James. Again, this to me is beneath him. LeBron made a mistake with the decision back in 2010. The second one, a lot more classy, a personal essay in Sports Illustrated, written with Lee Jenkins, just thanking everybody, explaining yourself, and just sort of an understated move. Press release with the LA Lakers. Okay, that's fine. To me, now it's a whiteboard. It's a podcast with your agent sitting there with Max Kellerman. Like, where's the class? Where's the dignity? Not in this. This is just more content that we can all just eat up. If you really have 27 teams vying for you, you don't need to do this. And if you don't need to do this, your agent shouldn't be doing it for you for his own brand. I didn't like it. Stock down. We'll see where LeBron ends up. Another stock down. FIFA. Just when you think they can't get more corrupt, well, just wait 5 minutes. And now it comes at a very awkward moment for all of the Americans who have really gotten behind this U.S. men's national team. By now, you probably are aware of some of the details. Flo Balogun, who is the U.S. men's national team's best striker, best player, puts so much pressure on opposing defenses. He has 3 goals. He has 3 assists already in the World Cup. Well, he was given a red card in the match against Bosnia-Herzegovina, and he was sent off and also supposed to be suspended for the next match against Belgium. Well, when you're President Trump, you always feel like you can put your thumb on the scale. So what we know now from The Athletic and some other places who have been reporting this, Trump reached out to Gianni Infantino, who's the head of FIFA, and essentially asked for a review. But if you think that's all he was doing, simply asking for a review of Flo Balogun's red card, your head is so deep in the sand, we will never be able to find you. Obviously, Trump wanted something to change. U.S. Soccer hired lawyers, called in rich hedge fund supporters, specifically a guy named Scott Goodwin, who had helped sweeten the pot for Mauricio Pochettino to come and be the coach and manager of this U.S. men's national team. And obviously, he's been worth the money. So you have big hedge fund guys. Gosh, this story is so American. You have big hedge fund guys. You have the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who you may remember from the Epstein files. And you have all these lawyers that got together to try to put the squeeze on FIFA. And then obviously you have Trump calling him to apply serious pressure to get Flo Balogun eligible for this game. So what they did, they didn't reverse the red card. They didn't wipe it away completely, but they are suspending the suspension. They are postponing this suspension, and Flo Balogun will have to serve it at a later date. Now, I mean, just wow. Blatant, corrupt, red cards are not able to be overturned on appeal. I guess that's out the window. And it's an odd place to be as an American and someone who has been supporting this U.S. men's national team, because obviously the red card against Flo Balogun was very sus, as the kids say, very suspect. It seemed like it was not egregious. Obviously, the slow-mo and the VAR made it look much worse than it was. And that's what slow-mo does in all sports. Everything looks like a murder scene when it's in slow-mo. Ask the WNBA and Caitlin Clark every time they have any whiff of a controversy. It's because a play against Caitlin is being replayed in slow-mo over and over again. And obviously it looks terrible. But this happens in the NFL, the NBA, everything. Slow-mo makes everything look worse. But this was a little bit of a flimsy red card. We can all acknowledge that. However, this is awkward too, because I think the U.S. men's national team, and by extension the supporters, really were impressed that once Balogun was sent off against Bosnia-Herzegovina, that the U.S. actually played gritty and beat Bosnia playing a man down. People could get behind that. And so now it just feels like this ultimate kind of U.S. thinking that, you know, we are better, our supremacy, whatever it is, to put the thumb on the scale and try to get things our way, to apply this pressure, this political pressure. And for the get politics out of my sports crowd, I mean, you've got to be hating this, because this is at the highest levels. Not only is it Trump making a call to the head of FIFA, this is the same body, FIFA, that gave Trump an invented award called the FIFA Peace Prize. He got some kind of like trophy and I think a medal, and they got the surviving members of the Village People to perform. This is after the World Cup draw. So they've obviously been buttering up to Trump this whole time. Not only that, according to The Athletic, FIFA rents office space in Trump Tower. So some member of the Trump family is making some money off of this, if they even own Trump Tower. Maybe they just put their name on the front. But anyway, this is crazy. And it's conflicting, because I want the U.S. men's national team to win and want them to advance and go farther than they've ever gone before in a World Cup, but not if there's going to be an asterisk on it. Not if this is going to be some favorable treatment that the U.S. gets because Trump made a phone call, because we're one of the host countries, because we're trying to, you know, again, be the superpower. We are the superpower. Does it have to play out this way, where the U.S. so obviously just gets an assist? Stock down, FIFA. Next stock down. This one goes to Brandon Aiyuk. Listen, somebody's got to get the phone away from this guy. Right now, the 49ers wide receiver is acting unhinged, posting on social media crazy things, airing all of his beefs out. And listen, he doesn't like the 49ers anymore. He wants to call out John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and call them names. And he obviously doesn't want to play for San Francisco anymore. Okay, fine. We've seen plenty of athletes want to switch teams. The problem with what Aiyuk is doing is that he had his next team seem like handpicked. He wanted to go to the Washington Commanders. He played college football with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. Adam Peters is the general manager of the Washington Commanders. He's a former front office guy for the 49ers, so there's connective tissue there. And now Aiyuk's acting crazy on social media, calling out Jaden Daniels, saying, if you think I'm here to join your team, I'm a grown-ass man. You have another thing coming. You better come out from behind your mom's apron strings. I mean, really personal. Now, these guys are friends, but this feels like way more than a bit. And we've seen guys get through thornier stuff and be able to work it out. But here's the issue. The 49ers don't have to let Brandon Aiyuk go to the Commanders. They don't have to do anything, quite frankly. But Washington would really have to work hard to get Aiyuk. They would have to make the deal pretty sweet for the 49ers to just willingly let one of their wide receivers go, their number one wide receiver go. Are the Commanders going to be trying to move heaven and earth now? That Brandon Aiyuk is calling out their quarterback and their quarterback's mom, and we know Jaden Daniels and his mom are super tight. And you should just never disrespect someone's mom anyway. This is just terrible for Aiyuk. And again, somebody has got to get his phone away from him or delete the social media off his phone and start using that phone to repair some of these relationships. Like, you got to call Jaden Daniels. You got to work this out. You got to make a call to Adam Peters. You got to tell him what's going on, because to me, this is shades of Antonio Brown. You know, when Antonio Brown, who's got much more serious things in his background than Brandon Aiyuk, in terms of accusations and allegations and stuff like that. But still, this is like unhinged stuff where Antonio Brown couldn't be walked back. You know, going after teammates on social media. Antonio Brown went after Tom Brady on social media. You know, like things that you just would not do. It's got a little AJ Brown. AJ Brown got what he wanted. He did get that trade to New England. But A.J. Brown, to be fair to him, never went nearly as far as this. Okay, he has a personality conflict maybe with Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni, or he didn't love the offense, or XYZ. But getting this personal, the dirty laundry never got aired to that extent in Philadelphia. So A.J. Brown got what he wanted. Now he's with the New England Patriots. Brandon Aiyuk, this is just getting very ugly. And meanwhile, the guy hasn't played in a year and a half, pardon me, as he's been recovering from injury. He got all that money from the 49ers, and now he's acting crazy. This makes absolutely no sense. Why would you start insulting the one team in the Commanders that seem like they would actually try to move heaven and earth to get you? I highly doubt that's going to happen now. All right, let's not get all negative. Got to give a stock up, and I'm sorry that Perloff is not here, McLovin, to hear this one, but I got to go stock up to Philadelphia as a sports city. The Jaylen Brown trade, chef's kiss. I mean, just a masterstroke. Don't know if it's going to work. Don't know if Jaylen Brown's going to be happy in Philadelphia. Philadelphia and Boston obviously are kind of birds of a feather when it comes to sports fans. Very, very similar type of vibe. And I don't know if Jaylen Brown and the Boston sports fans always got along so well. I'm not sure what's going to happen in Philly, but A+ to the 76ers for pulling off this trade. I mean, Jaylen Brown, Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and with whatever you get from Embiid, you know, this is obviously a very formidable team. Jaylen Brown has won a finals. He's been the best player on the court in a finals, which is something that Philadelphia desperately needs. A guy who has won, knows what it takes, and can lead in those moments when things get hairy, because the 76ers have not been out of the second round of the playoffs in over 20 years. But it's not just the 76ers. We're approaching the All-Star break. Baseball All-Star game in Philadelphia this year. So that's a major stock up. You get the home run derby in a bandbox of a ballpark. So that's going to be epic. And you get all the glory of hosting the All-Star game. Since Don Mattingly took over the Phillies, they have the best record in baseball. The Phillies were smart. They saw that things were not working, made the change early in the season with a different manager, Donnie Baseball, and look what's happened. They've been a rocket ship. Another stock down. This one has got to go to the Miami Marlins. You have Yuri Perez is 7 innings into a perfect game. Not a no-hitter, a perfect game, and the Marlins pulled him. And Clayton McCullough, who is the manager of the Marlins, said there was absolutely no consideration of going batter by batter once he got to that 7th inning. Now, Perez is coming off of a leg strain. He's already made the 3 starts since that injury. So you'd think that it's well in the rearview mirror, but they would not allow him to continue the pursuit of a perfect game. Again, only 24 pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball have thrown perfect games, and the Marlins have never had one. Obviously, there's 3 wild card spots right now. They're tied with the Cardinals for that last wild card spot. So listen, you're saying that you want to be playing for something bigger than the regular season, and I understand that this is, I guess, something you're deeming as not a meaningless game, but just another start for Yuri Perez, even though he is having this amazing milestone, or he has the opportunity to have this incredible milestone. And why I really dislike things like this from an organization, especially one like the Marlins. Number one, are the Marlins really going to make a commitment long-term to Yuri Perez? No. What are they going to do? They're going to end up trading him to the highest bidder to continue this churn of, selling off their players and not really building anything in the city of Miami. And so I feel for the fans, because you had the opportunity to witness your guy do something excellent, something that your franchise will always have. And instead, he is denied that opportunity because, yes, the franchise is thinking long term, but what does that even mean when it comes to Miami? Now, listen, if they win the World Series, or hell, if they go to the NLCS, then I'll retract this and we'll look back on it and say, Mag, you were dead wrong. But right now, the Marlins don't have enough of a track record, to me, to show you that Yuri Perez is going to be a staple for this team for years and years to come. It's just not true. And yeah, they're in the wild card hunt, which is the only reason why he's not getting traded at the deadline. So let's call that what it is. If you're an organization that just runs through guys to get them to bigger teams in bigger markets, I guess, who are willing to spend, then I think you got to let dudes go for these milestones when they're there. Now, Marlins aren't going to do that. They want to keep their asset as healthy as possible. Guys at 92 pitches. Like, see if he can get through another inning. Go batter by batter at that point. And they had an 8-0 lead in the game against the Athletics. And when the relief pitcher comes in, he ends up giving up a grand slam. They end up winning the game 9-8. So they almost lost the game anyway, which would have been so poetic. And then finally, this is just a small one. I don't even think I'm going to cut this one for YouTube. Maybe I will, but stock down the Taylor Travis wedding. I'm so over these two. I've been over these two. I used to get made fun of on our radio show on CBS Sports Radio Network that I always thought this was kind of a BS relationship. I always thought it felt a little staged. I think everything in Taylor's life is incredibly staged. It's made to look authentic, but this is all part of some bigger plan, to keep her fans engaged. It couldn't even keep it to people who are actually meaningful in your life. And not to call out like any one individual person, but like, what does George Stephanopoulos have in common with Taylor and Travis? Like, why is he at that wedding? All of it just seemed just so, like, what an eye roll, from the shutting down of the area around Madison Square Garden to all the seemingly random celebrities who were at this thing. I don't know. Okay, that's going to do it for Stock Up, Stock Down.